If you're planning on moving to Thailand, the first thing you're going to want to lock down is a visa. So that could be a very difficult process to figure out, especially from your home country, on what to do, because more than likely you've been on the internet, you went to the embassy and all that for Thailand visa requirements, and they only have a few things listed, and you're not sure which one is going to be right for you. Should you get a retirement visa if you're 50 or over? Should you get an educational visa? What do you need to do? My suggestion to you is what we ended up doing. We couldn't figure out what kind of visa we needed, so we went on the internet, found a place. We looked for the city we were moving to. We moved to Chiang Mai, Thailand, and we found a visa services company, and what we did is we contacted them because they had a Facebook link on their webpage. So we did Facebook messages back and forth. Hey, my name's Tony, my wife Kendall, we're moving from the U.S.
Yeah, here's our situation.
Right, we want to stay for X amount of time, and this is, how old we are and what our situation is. So what they're able to do is, since they're experts in that country, they were able to get back to us and go, you need to do this, 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 and this. Mm-hmm. Okay, great. And that worked out great for us. Now, we did a whole video on visas for Thailand. There'll be a link in the description. Make sure you see that. It goes into visas in depth, but that is step one.
I know a lot of people will have questions about paperwork. Oh, what paperwork do I need to get into Thailand? My suggestion would be go to the Thai embassy website for your home country and look at all the paperwork. It should have it lined out exactly what you need to prepare. If you have questions, I've heard that the best way to contact the U.S. Embassy is through their Facebook page, Facebook Messenger. I've tried calling them before, they never answered, so I would suggest probably that may be accurate. But we followed what it said on there and were able to meet the paperwork requirements.
And keep in mind that this stuff changes on a dime in Thailand. One day they'll say, oh, this is what you need to get into Thailand. The next day, oh, we changed our mind. This is how you get into Thailand. So check the websites on a daily basis to see if anything's changed.
Right.
COVID, if that's still a thing when you're watching this video, and it is at this moment, make sure that you're, again, going on the website, seeing what is required
at that particular point in time
for COVID. Now, sometimes what's required in Thailand and what's updated on the embassy, they're not in sync at all. If you're already in contact with a visa service company, like we told you in step one, you may want to ask them, hey, any idea on what the COVID situation is there? They'll know. Their business is to get people in and out of the country or to renew their visas while they're in the country. So that's our suggestion on that.
Some of you may be wanting to bring your dog or cat pet over to Thailand from your home country. We actually did a video that outlined this pretty much in depth. We will leave a link in the description on that. But what we had done, we have 2 dogs that we wanted to bring. First of all, you need to figure out what airline you're going through and seeing if that particular airline will accept your dog. They are some breeds they won't allow. And then also look to see what Thailand allows. They will tell you that if you do a search. I think there's a few breeds they don't allow. What you need to do though is follow the exact steps. We'll leave a link in the description of that too, of what you need to do for, at least for the US, to get your dog in or cat into Thailand. There are medical requirements, microchipping, different vaccinations, USDA checks. You've got to get an import permit through Thailand, through their airport. So there are different steps you need to go through, and they are time sensitive.
Yes, and we ran across, I think it was like a month ago, 2 of our subscribers while I was on a hike, and they had told me the nightmare that they had. They were planning on, or they came to Thailand, but they were planning on bringing their animals, and they did everything they were supposed to do, and when they were getting on the flight, the airline said that they wouldn't let their breed of dog on the airline. So not only make sure your dog breed's okay for Thailand, make sure the airport, all that meshed together. We use Qatar, just in case you were wondering.
Yeah, we have a Jack Russell and a Dachshund. One question I really had before we moved over here is, what do we do about our cell phones? We wanted to make sure we could use our cell phones over here, so I did a lot of research, and I figured out, first off, we had our plan in the U.S. through T-Mobile. I needed to make sure our phones were paid off, because we were on a plan where we were paying for them. We need them to be paid off and unlocked, so that was step one. We did that. Step two was, okay, I'd like to keep my U.S. number just in case it's ever needed for anything. I'd like to keep it. How do I do that?
And for the bank verifications.
And for bank verifications, yeah, because our U.S. banks sometimes will send a code or a PIN or call
to a
you
U.S.
to a U.S. number. So we needed to keep our U.S. numbers. What we ended up doing was called Google porting. So once our phones were paid off, unlocked, all that stuff, we got into Thailand. Once we were in Thailand, we ported our numbers. And it was a $20 one-time fee per number. And you can access your old phone. You can get voicemails. You can send text messages still. So it's very similar to what you could do when we were back in our home country.
So you could do a Google search for Google Voice porting.
Yeah, Google porting your old phone number.
PORTING.
Yes. Then when we got to Thailand, we needed to figure out what kind of a phone plan we wanted here. So we actually went with AIS, paid for a yearly plan that included, it's pretty much unlimited internet, but very limited amount of phone calls and text messages. But that's not a big deal, because here most people use Line or
it's an
WhatsApp or some kind of an app where you're not using actual phone. But it's worked out really well for us. We have good connection with AIS. We signed up for it at our local mall. Very easy.
Yeah, it works like a charm. If our bank back in the U.S. needs it says, we will send you a code to your U.S. phone number, and then it gets routed to us, and it's worked phenomenally.
Oh yeah, because you can download the app, the Google app, and then it comes to that.
Yeah, and if I want to call someone back in the U.S., all I have to do is go through Google Voice, either on my computer or my phone, and I can call anyone and talk for hours. It won't cost anything.
Right, because it's still your U.S. number.
Correct, and they can call you just like they're calling you in the U.S. Now, once you get here in Thailand, internet service, I thought I would touch on this just a little bit. Depending on where you're at in Thailand, we're in Chiang Mai, they have Google Fiber. So the quality of internet is definitely here. Their phones have fast service. The internet service here is really fast. And it's kind of what you would expect. We live in a house, and when you order internet service, there's different speed packages you can pick from that are very affordable. And if speed and internet is something of a concern for you, don't let it be. It's great here. Now, finding a place to stay over here can be cumbersome. I'm going to give you an idea of what to do and what not to do. What not to do is to find something over the internet before you come over here and go, that's where I want to be, and go ahead and pay the rent ahead of time, so as soon as you get off the plane you can go straight to your place. That sounds lovely. However, if you haven't been to the area before, you've only been here a couple of weeks in the area that you want to be in Thailand, my suggestion would be to rent an Airbnb for, let's say, 2 weeks or a month, and it gives you a month or 2 weeks, whatever you book it for, to look around and see the different areas of the city that you're moving to, and actually get a realtor to help you. They have realtors that will help you find rental properties, and you know, while they're showing you around, you can ask them about this area, what's the pros, what's the cons, what's normally included, all that good stuff. You can look at things like condos, you can look at homes, you could look at subdivisions, all that good stuff. So what I would suggest is getting with a realtor, and it works. I don't know what country all of you all are from, but from the U.S., a buyer's agent, you don't pay them anything. Same here, if they're helping you find a rental property, the fee to them gets paid to them by the person renting out the house. So it's free for you. You might as well use it.
So we live in a house here in Chiang Mai, and there are some utilities that you will have to pay, because I know when we got here we were wondering, okay, what are the utilities, how do we pay them, how does that work? So you have water. That's one utility. Water is very cheap here in Thailand. We also have the electric bill, which that's pretty much on par with the U.S., maybe a little higher, we think, for what we have.
Power's high.
You also pay that at 7-Eleven. So the water and the power can be paid at 7-Eleven. You just take your bill in there. I think they charge, here anyway, they charge a 10 baht fee. Well worth it. You just go in and pay the bill.
Which is like maybe 10 cents, 20 cents.
It's very cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other thing is internet. Now, our internet where we currently live is provided through our contract, so our landlord pays that. But most of the time you'll have to pay your internet, which, as Tony had said, is very inexpensive. And I believe you can pay that however you want. You might be able to pay that a year in advance. I'm not really sure.
Now, if you're dying for us to say, well, what is the cost of your electricity? What is the cost of your phone? What is the cost of your internet? What is the cost of housing? We did a complete video on cost of living Thailand, which again, we will link in the description. Make sure you check that out. Now let's talk about transportation in Thailand for a moment. You get off the plane, probably gonna get a taxi, get to wherever you're going. What do you do in the meantime? Well, you can get, there's two apps, Grab, Grab, and Bolt, B-O-L-T. Make sure you get the app downloaded to your phone, because that may be your only mode of transportation for a while, depending on where you're staying. If you're in the middle of a city, you can always get a taxi easy enough just by walking down the road. But with the Bolt and the Grab apps, they will come to you. It works just like Uber, so make sure you get that checked out. Now, if you're wondering about driving, will my driver's license work here in Thailand? Good one. We've got a whole video on this. We'll give you just it's called Driving in Thailand. I'll put a link in the description. But let me just go over a couple of things with you. If you have an international driver's license from your home country, you're good to go. What if you just have a regular driver's license from your home country? Then you're sort of good to go. You're going to have to get a license here, but you don't need to take a test. You're going to go through some steps. Again, that's in another video. But you're going to have to watch a video and make sure that your colors are correct. You can tell green from yellow from red.
Yeah, because they go through the lights like, oh, what color is that? Red, yellow, green.
Right, and then once that's done, you have your Thailand driver's license. I would bring somebody with you who speaks Thai, because at the Department of Land Transport, that's what they call it here, not a whole lot of them speak English unless you get really lucky. So I would bring somebody with you that speaks Thai to help you get through that. But the whole process, 2 to 4 hours, depending on how busy they are.
And also that driver's license lasts for 2 years, the initial one, and after that you get a 5-year license.
Now, if you're planning on coming over here and using a motorcycle, it works like this. If you had a motorcycle license in your home country when you come here, you're good to go with watching the safety video and the light test. But if, like in my case, I did not have a motorcycle license in the US and I wanted to ride a motorcycle license here, I had to sign up for a 2-day driver's course. They put me on a computer in English. I had to sit there for a day and a half or whatever it ended up being, with all these questions thrown at me, and pick out the answer, and after a while they keep throwing the same stuff at you and you start memorizing it. Then they have you do a little course where you drive the scooter or motorcycle through a little course. I've got a whole video. If you look on our channel, we've got one. I'll put that link in the description too.
Part of it's a little funny too.
Yeah, I failed one part miserably, but whatever. But anyway, you have to do this little driver's test. But after that, then it goes back to the other process where you go and get your license and you're good to go.
Yeah.
A little bit more difficult if you don't already have one in your home country. The next topic we need to talk about is insurance. Insurance while you're over here. If there's COVID going on, you need COVID insurance. What about health insurance? All that insurance stuff. Well, we're going to make this real easy. We're going to put a link in the description for the guy we used. He's originally from Canada.
He's from Canada. His name's Robert Jackson. He's with AXA Insurance.
Super, super friendly, knowledgeable, and you can get in touch with him on Facebook. So you can just message back and forth. Hey, what kind of insurance would I need? We're going to move here for this amount of time. I'm this old, blah, blah, blah.
And the cool thing is, I was chatting with him when I was still back in the U.S. saying, okay, what kind of insurance do we need? How much is it? All that stuff. He's able to change dates. Let's say the date of your trip changes. He can change the dates on the policy to correspond with your new trip date.
So he actually helps you get to Thailand.
He does.
And another thing is that he'll also be the one to say, yeah, okay, we could go with this insurance and it may be cheaper, but if you ever have a claim, it's going to be total crap.
Yeah.
But if you get this one, it's a little bit more expensive, but if you get a claim, they're actually going to pay it without giving you a bunch of lip service.
We got our health insurance through him after we were here for a few months as well.
Now let's talk about the weather here. What would be the best time to come here if you're staying for a short time? Well, the time not to come is the time we came, which is in the middle of the hot season. So let's talk about this. March, April, May, very hot. We'll keep this really simple. June, July, August, September, maybe the beginning of October is what they call the rainy season.
But it didn't, if I think of rainy season, I'm thinking monsoons every day. No, it just means it rains.
Yeah.
It can rain every day, every few days.
Or it might not rain.
Or it might not rain. But it will rain at some point.
Now the best weather, October, November, December, and January.
February too, I think.
Well, we'll throw February in there. It's a lot cooler, drier.
Yeah, it's called the dry season.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yes.
You hardly get any rain.
But when we got here, it was March 27th, right in the middle of hot season. But one thing to bring up, though, about the seasons, I left this out on accident, is towards the end of February, definitely March, and the first part of April is the smoky season, where they burn crops around here and all the smoke comes in.
In Chiang Mai anyway.
Yeah, Chiang Mai, Bangkok, and everything in between is covered in smoke. You don't have that issue as much if you get way down south of Thailand or maybe one of the islands. But keep that in mind that there is a smoky season here in Thailand. So we hope this information is able to help you. If you haven't checked out our channel, please check it out. We have a lot of information on Thailand and different areas and different things and real estate and all kinds of fun stuff. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. If you feel so inclined, buy us a coffee. We'd really appreciate it. And ring that bell and you'll get all the notifications when we come out with new videos. And if you like the video, please click like. Thank you very much for watching. And as we like to say thank you in Thai by saying Khap Kun Krap.